Hey, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tasha. Thank you for your support, for sharing, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm so grateful. I hope that you have been encouraged by these videos, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback, so I'm going to just keep going. So, we're talking about marriage, so I would say this is episode 3 of Marriage kind of one-on-one. And we had talked about some things about resentment and how to deal with those things. And so we're still talking about being mindful of triggers and minefields and different things when we're in our marriage and when we're blending our families or blending our lives. It depends on what your circumstances are. If you are newly married, young, without children, or if you're potentially second marriage or just marriage later in life where you're blending families. And so it's very critical to be very mindful of how you behave and what you're doing, because it's more difficult as you get older. But it's only difficult as you get older because it's more parts in play. But it can be easier because you know yourself better. You know what you want, you know what you like, and you already have identified a lot of these things as far as triggers and how you like to be handled and different things that you desire. So it can be easier or it can be harder. It's kind of up to you. But marriage is going to be challenging just because of the growth part. And so when we are growing, we experience pain sometimes. And that's why they call it growing pains, because that's what it is. As we grow in our faith with the Lord, or as we grow in our lives, you have pain involved. Like if you're growing in your job, you're growing, you have to take classes, kind of balancing a lot because you're growing. And so growth is good and pain is normal. If you're young, married, if you reach a point where you feel like this is the worst decision that you have ever made and that you wish you had not gotten married, then you're in the right place, because that's what's going to happen. And it may just be a moment where you just be like, oh my God, why did I do this? Oh my God, this was so much. Oh my God, and somebody told me that when I was young, that you're going to have a moment where you're going to feel like, oh my God, what did I just do? And that is normal because your whole life is changing. Everything about your life is changing. Not just your last name, or, if you took his name or added his name, however, your whole life is changing. And becoming a wife is a process. And it depends on how your mom raised you, what was taught. But it also depends on what your husband requires, just what he requires as far as what his expectations are, what your expectations are. And sometimes we don't know really what our expectations are until we get in them, until we get there. And it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that was an issue for me, or, whatever it was. So I would say if you reach a moment where you're upset, take a breath, take a moment. And if you have to, take a time out. Just take a moment. It is so critical to not say things that are hurtful. Because think about it. You know this person. You know their nuances. You know their ins and outs. You've seen them at their most vulnerable. And they are the most vulnerable with you. Men and women. Do not say hurtful things in a moment of anger, because it is so costly. It is so costly. Depending on how hurtful that thing is, like, do not say hurtful things just so you can feel like you can win. You are not winning anything. There is not a prize. No one wins when the family feuds. And if you always got to be right, who's going to be left? If you always got to be right, who's going to be left? If being right is so important to you, you might be lonely, because who's going to be left? You always got to be right. You always got to have the last say. It's a toxic behavior. It is not okay to say hurtful things when you're fighting. If you get upset, and this is what I say, if something happens and you get upset and your blood is boiling and you are triggered, they done stepped on a minefield, it is a whole situation. Rule number 1, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. For women, now I don't know how men deal with it. Men process things differently, but this how women process. Rule number 2, leave. Just if you can't control yourself, just take a moment and leave. Go and get in the car. Call your best girlfriend. I got about 3 on speed dial. If I am upset, and I don't typically get upset, but when I do, oh my goodness, it's because something is really wrong. But when I do, I just be like, oh my God. And I would try to call one of my girlfriends, because that, like when you are so angry and you got venom, I'm talking venom, call your girlfriend. Give it to her. She gonna listen and let you vent, because that's who it's for. Do not give that venom to your husband. It's venom. It's going to poison the well. Call your girlfriend, blow off some steam, scream, yell, curse, whatever you got to do, get it out. And she'll listen, because the good girlfriends always do, and good girlfriends that keep your privacy, not ones that run and tell your business. And you should have about 1 or 2, 3 good girlfriends. I got a couple, and they are married and they have husbands. And when I call them, man, my best girl, she gonna give it to me, and she gonna say, okay, this is what it is. And sometimes you just need to vent. You just need to vent to get some of that steam off. Get some of the steam off, and then try to figure it out. Usually a good girlfriend is going to give you some reasonable advice. She's going to talk you down off the ledge, because that's where you are. You out on that ledge. You about to jump. You about to set the whole everything on fire. You are angry, girl. You are big mad. As my husband say, 38 hot mad. Let the steam off. Try to calm yourself down, and then try to have a conversation about it. Stay within bounds when you fighting. Stay in the bounds. No assassination of character, telling somebody what they are or what they're not. No bringing up something hurtful. You just like fill in the blank. That ain't gonna work either. You gotta stick to the topic. I know it's hard, because when you're angry, when you get angry and you get real angry, everything that you've been angry about, that you might not even know you was angry about to come out. It's not the time for it. It is a toxic way to fight. Focus on what the problem is, and focus on how we going to resolve it, how we going to talk it out, how we going to fix it. Don't go into the assassination of character. Don't go into calling each other names and bringing other people. Don't do that. Don't, because you got this problem, and you got to deal with it. But if you go around in circles, then you're going to get caught up in the circles, and the problem will never really be addressed. It just won't be addressed, because you get caught up in the circle. Stay focused. And if you continue, if say you trying to talk it out, because it'll be like, make it make sense, like you trying to talk it out, listen. And if you get to a point where you are upset and you can't control yourself, leave the room. Say, hold on, I need a minute, because I don't want to say anything hurtful. Go try to process it, then come back and try to calm yourself down and talk through it. And it may take a while. Depending on how bad the blow up was, it may take a while, but keep your business in the house. Don't start posting on Facebook. Don't start telling people who good and well are not in your corner, who good and well are not rooting for you, because you need a listening ear. No, call your good girlfriend, and don't tell your parents. Don't involve your family. because whatever fight you having, whatever it is, you're going to get past it. If you go running telling all your family, then your family going to still be mad at him or mad at her because they ain't in love with him and her. You are. So don't go telling people what's going on. Don't be telling your business to people, especially people who don't, who not rooting for you and can't give you sound advice. And don't let other people into your marriage like that, because they're not going to be forgiven of that situation. And when I say good girlfriend, like I confided in another married woman. I really couldn't confide in a single woman because she's not there. She's just not there. Even an older woman, somebody that you trust. Find somebody that you can trust that can give you marriage advice. And just say, just in case you don't have that person, yet, be prayerful that God will send you somebody that you can be good girlfriends with, good godly girlfriends, people that are actually praying for you and actually, rooting for you, not that toxic, wanting to see you fail, happy, you got drama or whatever. No, not that. But in the event that you don't have that person, I would say pray and journal. Journal. If I were really angry and I couldn't get nobody, I would just be in the car talking to God like, Lord, come on, help me, so I don't take his head off. Please help me. Show me what to do, how to do it. When I was younger, I would journal. And even like now, if I'm in a situation where I'm upset and I have to deal with those feelings by myself, I would just take a piece of paper and I would journal, or take a piece of paper and curse that person out. I mean, say everything hurtful that you want to say and then burn it. Burn it. All you got to do is just get it out. And it doesn't really matter how you get it out. I would write, and I would just write and write and write and write and write and write until I could get those emotions out, those feelings. And when you look it over it, you can say, okay, you can see like some common denominators. You can see maybe where you should have communicated. You can see what is hurtful, what is connected to your past, but you have to get it out. You just have to be cautious of who you're getting it out with. If you don't have nobody you can trust that has not proven to be in your corner, don't share your business with somebody that is not proven to be in your corner. And one infraction is enough to know they're not in your corner, because that means they have some jealousy in their heart. And jealousy is deep rooted. It's hard to get out. It's going to take a lot. And it's also a habit that people practice. And I think it's like the most useless habit in the world. How does being jealous of someone else get you something better in your life? Like, make it make sense. I'm mad at her for getting a good job, but how does that make me get a better job? I mean, just how? Just like make it make sense. How does that make me get a better job? It doesn't. Jealousy is a useless emotion. And with this used for one thing, if you ever feel the slightest bit of jealousy, that means that that's an area that you need to work on in your life. That's all. If you feel jealous that she got married or she lost weight or she got a better job or she bought a house, all that means is that you desire that thing. Go get it. Go get it. Don't get caught up in the jealousy. Don't get caught up, because it's not going to do anything for you but destroy your relationship. That's all it's going to do. It's going to destroy your relationship. If you feel that feeling, jealous, envious, let it be fleeting and recognize that that's something that you desire. Go get it. Make you a plan. Get to it. But don't stay there, because jealousy is just going to destroy your relationships. So back to the anger. If you're angry, get it out. Let off some of that steam so that you can come back and have a calmer conversation with your spouse. And, the Bible says don't go to bed angry, and you shouldn't. You should try to get it out, because you don't want that, because if you go to bed angry, it's just going to fester. You're going to be more angry the next day and the next day and the next day. And you just don't want to allow that behavior in your life. Try to communicate, try to get it out, try to talk it out, try to hear and listen, and hear and listen, and hear and listen. Because the other person has a point, hopefully, but you gotta listen. You gotta listen. You gotta let them talk. You gotta let them get their part out. And sometimes it's difficult because we hurt each other inadvertently just because we're in close contact with one another, and you just have to communicate when that happens, and be mindful to not say things when you're angry, to not say hurtful things, because those things will ring in their ears forever and you can't take them back. And like I say, my number one rule is do not tear down your own tree. Don't tear down your own tree. If this is the woman that you chose as your wife, this is the woman that you believe God has sent you, don't call her out her name because you mad. Control yourself. If this is the man that you have prayed for, don't call him out his name. Don't tear him down, because he's going to remember that, we have a lot of feelings, a lot of issues, things going on. We got to resolve it. And we have to be willing, willing and listening partners. If somebody come to you and say something that bothers them, don't start with, here you go again. Like, come on. That's not going to work. The deflection, the distractions, the mirroring back to somebody, trying to, do the Jedi mind trick, like that's not going to work. You're going to have to communicate. And if you fail to communicate, especially with women, if you fail to communicate, she going to stop talking. And initially you're going to think that, oh God, finally she shut up. No, sir. She's going to start making another plan. And it's not going to include you. You are not going to be her priority anymore. Because once a woman gets to a point like that R. Kelly song, when a woman fed up, it's a done deal. If she's trying to communicate with you, trying to talk to you, trying to resolve issues, it is in your best interest to resolve them. Same thing with men. If he's trying to communicate with you, trying to resolve issues, it is in your best interest to resolve them. There is not a rug big enough that you can put conflict under that is going to stay there. Like I say, your marriage is a living, breathing organism. You either growing together or you growing apart. So if you choose not to resolve the issue, and like that whole, we're going to agree to disagree, it's not healthy either. Because that means that we haven't come to a resolution. We have just resolved to hear each other. It's not a resolution. It is just a resolving of hearing each other. I want to do things one way, you want to do things another way, and we can't resolve it. It's not going to be a rug big enough to put that under. And eventually, people, when you have rugs full of resentment, people are going to have action behind that. And that's where the growing apart is going to start. The growing apart is going to start when you couldn't resolve a conflict, you agree to disagree, or you whatever that is, and you just kind of be like, whatever. You get tired of trying to say the same thing. That's when you're opening the door to a whole nother set of behaviors. That's when you're opening the door to resentment, and you're opening the door to a mediocre marriage. A mediocre marriage. A mediocre marriage where you don't care no more. You don't care no more. You cared, and your feelings got hurt, and you couldn't resolve the conflict. He brushed you off, or you brushed him off, and you don't care no more. So now, all the small things that you used to do, you just gonna naturally stop doing. You just gonna naturally stop doing because you're not resolving conflict. I remember I was dating someone, and he said something like, I could think of 100 things that you used to do that you don't do anymore. And I said, I can think of 100 things that you used to do that you don't do anymore. I'm going to reciprocate your energy. And if you stop catering to me, then by all means, I'm going to stop catering to you. That's just natural progression. Like the whole be the bigger person, that's not realistic. No, we both need to be mature and try to resolve conflict. And when you don't resolve the conflict, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to start investing less and less and less and less until there's nothing left. And that's when you're going to see a couple who don't really care for one another. They might be staying for the kids or staying for the house or staying for whatever reason, but they out of love with one another because they chose that path. One step by one step by one step. And so if you've fallen out of love with somebody, and being in love is a place, it is. It is a place that you chose to be because love is a choice. Love is a verb, it's an action word. So if you are in love and you got giggly feelings, you chose to be there. You chose to resolve the conflict. You chose to have the hard conversations. You chose to communicate. You chose to pray together. You chose to get over the hump. Day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. You chose it. And the more that you choose it, the better marriage you're going to have. That's when it's going to grow deeper and deeper and deeper. But if you reach a bump and you do not choose to resolve the conflict and grow together and keep at it until we fix it, keep at it until we resolve it, keep at it until we can get some type of resolution, that's when the backwards motion starts. That's when you just stop being kind and stop being sweet and stop with the good morning text and stop with the, like say your habit is to be home when your husband get home. He done made you mad, you gonna not be home because you don't care no more because he didn't care about your feelings, vice versa. Stop doing all those little things that got you there. And that's going to grow and grow and grow. And be cautious because that's how affairs start. Because now you're missing something at home. Now you're missing some love and affection, attention. For men, now he's missing some admiration, some consideration. And so now here come, sneaky link. Here comes somebody trying to whisper in your ear something. And because your love bank is empty, you fall for it. And this person, like I say, only got 20% of what, you're looking for. And that's just a little bit of affection, a little bit of attention, a little bit of whatever. And you go blow up your whole life because you got caught in a trap of resentment. That's literally what destroys marriages, is resentment. And resentment is unresolved conflict that we did not continue to find a solution for. Like I say, love is a verb, an action word. Apologies come with changed behavior. Changed behavior. When your husband or your spouse can say, hey, I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. That's resolution. That's the progress that we're going to need to move forward. Because to just blow it off like you, especially this is like a behavior. If somebody say you overreacting, that's abuse 101. Whatever your feelings are valid. How minor they may think they are, your feelings are yours, baby, yours. They are valid. And if you feel a way and you say what you feel, and it's you overreacting, you got a problem. You got a problem. Because whatever you're feeling, they are your feelings. However it, rubbed you the wrong way, a real partner is going to address it and say something and try to resolve it. Somebody who playing games is going to say you overreacting, or, try to do the whole Jedi mind trick where it's you that's wrong and not them, or just whatever the conflict is. Like, no, this is a problem for me. How we going to resolve it? This bothers me. How we going to resolve it? So those are problems, and marriages fail over time. The only time a marriage fails, even in infidelity, it happens over time, because there are so many lies that has to be told to go out and cheat with somebody. There's so many steps that have to be taken. So say you are in a relationship, marriage, and you're attentive, but that's how an affair would happen, because you lack of attentiveness, lack of caring where they are, what they doing, who they with, just lack of it. Because before you care, but now you don't because you're mad or because your feelings was hurt and you didn't resolve it. So know that, like I say, your marriage is a living, growing being. You're either growing together or you're growing apart. And I'm just communicating some of the ways how the enemy gets in and destroys it by resentfulness and ungratefulness. Whatever the conflict is, it is in your best interest to resolve it, because it is not going away. It is just not going away. Like I say, it's not a rug big enough that you can put it under. And it's going to resurface itself in another circumstance, because the general feeling is there. If your general feeling is that you are not prioritizing your husband's life, it's going to resurface again, and then it's going to cut deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's going to be hard to heal if you always cutting. You just can't heal if you always cutting. And then one day you're going to wake up and your marriage is going to be dead, and you're going to be trying to figure out, what to do, how to fix it. You just cannot take people for granted. You just cannot take people for granted. It's such a toxic and arrogant place. That's a good word. It's an arrogant place to be. And those places are going to create, what's the word? It's like, I guess just like the door opening. Like the door is going to crack open, but the devil going to bust it wide open. He going to be ready with something, some garbage, something. And you just have to really stay connected. And even when it hurts, even when it's hard, stay connected, because it matters. The connection that got you here is going to be the same connection that keeps you here. The same communicating, the same thoughtfulness, the same everything that you're doing to get here, you're going to have to do it to stay here. And that's when I say marriage is work, because it's not like some destination. Oh my God, we married, we here. No, we not here. We moving and growing. And we want this thing to grow deeper and deeper, so that when crisis hit, we can get through it, because our bond is so strong, because our love banks are so full. And conflict depletes love banks. It just depletes some conflicts and taking people for granted. Like, it just depletes your love bank, and you just never want to be empty. If for you or your spouse, you just never want to be empty. You want to continue to invest in your marriage. It is a living, breathing being. Invest, invest, invest. Day by day, day by day, day by day, because he and she, your spouse that you chose, deserves it. They deserve it. They deserve your love and affection and attention, and they deserve for this relationship to be invested in every day. If you do a little bit of work every day, you won't have to do such big grand things all the time, because you're putting the work in every day, the work that's necessary. I hope you have enjoyed this Tea with Tasha. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting, liking, sharing, all that good stuff. Until we meet again.